Workshop. Yes, I'm back. Made it back from the South Island eventually, and I'm feeling a lot better now. It's taken about another week or so for me to sort of come right. You may be able to tell from the voice that I am still not 100%, still coughing up the green slimy stuff, but I'm a lot better. So thanks for asking. Now, let me get set up and we'll see who we've got in the workshop with us already. And it's a cold, foggy morning this morning. It really is. There we go, look. What a thumbnail. Bum, bum, bum. No, lots of adverts going to come up. Come on, chat. You can make it. You can do it. Come on, come on, come on. Top chat. Oh, I don't want that. Got adverts and all sorts of rubbish going on here. Roger Heaps. Good morning, Andy and crew. Good morning, Roger. Welcome back into my little workshop. Jane Governor, good evening, Andy and family. From a very cold South Africa. It's pretty chilly here, to be honest. Really has. Now, chat's moved up now, so we'll go up there. Simon Roll, morning, Andy and crew. Good morning, Simon, one of our very regular viewers, as is, of course, James and Roger. Simon, Jane Governor, was it you asking about removing powder coating from the last live stream? I remember that, and there was a few possible options, but maybe Simon's got some more tricks up his sleeve. Jane, yes, was waiting for you, Simon, please. Over to you, Simon. J. Billy Josh, where have you been? Well, I was down in the South Island for nearly a month. I think it was 3 weekends I was away for. It was a monster trip and probably one of the longest trips I've ever done in the South Island for work. And unfortunately, very early on in the trip, I came down with the dreaded and life-threatening man flu. And it wasn't very nice. It took a few days to sort of permutate, or evolve, I suppose is another word. And then it sort of knocked me for six for a while, but I had to keep working. There was no possibility of taking a sick day because that would have thrown the whole schedule to pot. I suppose unless I just aborted a few visits, but that's not the way I work. I like to get everything done, and I hadn't been in the South Island since for work since probably about October last year. So those visits were way overdue. I caught the big C back in December, and then for some unknown reason the ferry didn't get booked. There were all sorts of problems with the ferry earlier this year getting across to the South Island. There's two ferry companies, Inter-Islander and Bluebridge, and both of them had mechanical problems with their boats, ships, ferries. We'll call them ferries. And basically it was a massive scrabble for anybody trying to get on those ferries. So that didn't happen, and I had to reschedule till after the monkey bike trip. Just while we're on, actually, the Inter-Islander on the monkey bike trip, you may remember that they were very good to offer us free passage to and from the South Island for that charity run. And I can now confirm, after many hours of phone calls and emails, or attempted phone calls, lots of on hold stuff, Mrs. Mechanic was finally successful in obtaining the refund for the tickets, because obviously I had to pay for them up front to make sure there was a place on the ferry. She got the refund through on Friday. So that was really good, and I'm very pleased that that's happened, because another little segue, she is very close to finishing the first episode of the monkey bike trip, and it looks brilliant. She's still got a few little tweaks to do here and there, but man, I really like her style of editing. I think she's done a fantastic job. She's also done like a little trailer that she's going to put out on Facebook and bits and pieces. So when that does go out, I'll share it as well. She's going to put the trailer on her YouTube channel and then a link on the Facebook. So when that comes out, if you guys, if you could share that, that would be really cool, because obviously we want to get those videos really well watched, because it may then improve some of the donations that have come through, towards Alzheimer's Trust. So yes, thank you for all your support, everybody, so far. We're now at the second stage of that fundraising period, and I think those videos are going to go down really well. The plan of attack I was talking to Mrs. Mechanic about it. Plan of attack is to do about a 25-minute episode. And we reckon at the moment that's going to work out to be an episode per day of the trip. Now, you may think, oh man, that's a lot of watching to do. It probably is, but there's a lot happened on that trip, and it's very difficult to cut out stuff when you're editing. I didn't want it to do any longer videos than that, because the shorter the video, the more views you get, basically. That's sort of the rule of thumb. Man, what's going on here? We'll get rid of that. Thank you. Right. So yes, watch this space. I reckon it's probably going to go out in the next 2 to 3 weeks. But I'll let you know on another live stream or whatever. You'll see it. You'll know when it goes out. And the videos will also be put on the Andy Mechanic YouTube channel as well, I believe. I think that's the plan, because then we can create a revenue from it as well. Because Mrs. Mechanic's YouTube channel is very new and it's not monetized. So obviously any views on those videos wouldn't create a revenue. So, you know, it's just the way it is. It's the way we have to do it. J. Billy Josh, I felt strange not having you about on my Saturday night. I very nearly did do a live stream last Sunday, but I was feeling like, I really was feeling crap, to be honest, and thought, well, you've had 3 in a row in the South Island. I know they're only, on-site live streams, not quite the same, but I just needed a break, and I was full of cold. There was snot everywhere. It wouldn't have been fun to watch, and my voice was terrible. So apologies for anybody that was, and including you, Jay, that was waiting for that live stream. It just didn't happen, and for valid reason, to be honest. Simon, right, asked him, he uses PCS-218. It's a mix of hydrofluoric acid and methane chloride, both very nasty stuff. I'll just chuck it on the bonfire. Honestly, there's some evil chemicals out there. Jim K, hello! Good morning, Jim, and welcome back to the workshop, sir. And thank you for your phone calls earlier in the week. And my apologies on behalf of, would have been Vodafone, it's now changed names to One New Zealand, on behalf of One New Zealand, for the number of times that our calls dropped out. The coverage here in New Zealand is getting worse, not better. It's crap, it really is. Simon, there was the powder, that was the powder coaters I deal with. So if anyone knows, they're going to know, right? Richard Perry, hi Andy crew, hope all are well. Big thumbs up, GB. Yes, Richard, definitely feel a lot better. Yesterday was a very productive day, actually. We managed to get the ROV finished. There's been one here for quite some time from the surf clubs, which was waiting for a carrier support bracket for the primary sheave of the CVT drive. Unfortunately, the vehicle had been in the sea very early on in its life, and it's caused an extensive amount of corrosion around the vehicle. Even in the CVT drive, you know, all the aluminium is oxidized. The wiring, man, few wiring problems going on. Nothing currently, but there was previous. And unfortunately, the engine suffered an overheat situation very early on in its life, because the fuse for the cooling fan completely corroded away. It just, there was hardly any of the metal part of the fuse left, and even the fuse holder was badly corroded as well. So I had to eliminate all of that and put a brand new fuse holder and fuse in there, obviously a fully sealed one this time. And because that fuse failed, the fan didn't work, and it got the overheat situation. At the time, I did a coolant system pressure test, ran it up. There was no indication whatsoever that the head gasket was failing. So the machine went back into service after it had been serviced. And here we are a whole year later, and it had overheated again. And the head gasket had failed. It took a year for that head gasket to finally fail, but it did. And it failed. There was no faults on the machine other than the head gasket failing. And my diagnosis is it's as a result of that original overheat a year ago. So anyway, top end rebuild, had to have a new cylinder head because that had been cooked and the aluminium had gone soft. Luckily, I have my own hardness tester now, which is great to have on site. I can make decisions really quick. and not rely on engineering companies and stuff. So top end rebuild, got it all put back together, give it some fresh oil, and ran it up with the CVT drive belt off. And the carrier was off because we were still waiting for that part to come through. Not a problem. There's no stress on that output shaft because there's no belt on there. And there seemed to be, and I had checked it while I had the cylinder and the head off, a big end knock. Yes, I was quite upset is probably one word. It wasn't exactly the kind of rasp that I would expect to hear, but there was a bit of a knock. And I was like, oh man, really? It's going to be a full engine rebuild? I really haven't got time for that. I've got to get on with these plates and they need the machine back. Plus, it's another delay for parts orders. Anyway, fitted all these CVT drive parts, rebuilt all of that, ran it up again, no knock. So it was obviously something to do with the output shaft not being quite in alignment onto the shaft that feeds the primary sheave from the centrifugal clutch. And I was most relieved. So yesterday we set to and got the whole thing put back together. Only one dilemma. We appear to have lost the gas struts for the rear tray. Yes, I don't know where they are. We've searched for them. I don't know. So I'm going to have to replace those at some point. Fortunately, they don't use the tray as a tipper tray, so it's not really a problem. It'll have to go back as it is, and I'll let them know that I'll fit some new gas struts when it comes back in for its next service in hopefully 6 months' time, because that machine needs close monitoring now. It doesn't want to be left for a whole year. It had to have a new cooling fan. That was down on performance. It was only drawing about 3 amps. They should pull about 6.5, and you could tell when you listened to it, it wasn't moving the air. And also the steel coolant pipes that run under the floor, they were actually quite rusty. I replaced them as a matter of course because of the age of the machine. And the new ones that went in, we also painted them with a high temperature paint as well, to just give them another layer against corrosion. So everything's all back together. During the coolant pressure test, we did find 4 of the joints between the steel pipes and the rubber hoses, one onto the water pump. They were weeping slightly. There were 4 of them that were just to say weeping a little bit, but I don't believe that was the reason for the failure. Anyway, they've all been cleaned up and new hose clamps put on and stuff and retested, and there's absolutely no problem. So I'm very confident that machine can go back into service now, and that'll be going back up to Auckland next week. And then I've got 3 more to pick up, one at a time, obviously, for servicing. So there's a fair bit to do. There really is. Anyway, Andy rambles on. Lots going on at the moment. I've got a huge workload ahead of me, not just with work, but also through the workshop as well. So I'll be pretty knackered in the next few weeks. Now then, Virginia Governor Simon, will gasket removal work? Ooh, I don't think it will. It's pretty evil stuff, is the plastic coating. Simon, don't know. Just asked a man in the know. Vijayans, Andy, please, and her link in your send her link in your description, as I still can't find her channel. Okay, Mrs. Mechanic, she might be on the live stream right now. If she is, could you put a link to your YouTube channel again in the description, please? Jane Governor, thanks, Simon. Connor, in fact, tell you what, why don't you, as a backup plan for Giant, flick me an email. I'll forward that to Mrs. Mechanic, because she's got her own email, obviously, and she can email you her link as well for the YouTube channel, and maybe that's going to work. Right, thanks, Simon. Connor K! Morning, Connor! Welcome back, mate. Good to hear you. Morning, Andy and crew. The like has been clicked. You're a good man, sir. You are. Full respect. John Doggeroo. Hi, Andy. Morning, John. Welcome to the workshop, sir. I'm on my second coffee, can you tell? The first one went cold really quick, off camera. This one's getting there as well, to be fair. It is very cold down here today. It was actually really cold. When was it? Friday night? Thursday night? Friday night? No, Friday night. Friday night was really cold down here. MF50B. Now then, Andy. Now then. Now, that's a good Yorkshire term. Now then. That's what we say in Yorkshire when you greet somebody in the morning, now then. And you just tip your hat a little bit like that, your cap, you know, now then. It's a good sign of respect. Thank you, Andy. Oh, sorry, I'm jumping around. So, MF50B, thank you for that. Roger Heaps, what's the pie? Thank you, Roger. I was waiting for someone to say that. Now, we haven't done this one before. Mrs. Mechanic wasn't sure, but we've checked on the wall of many pies, and this is an Oxford pies, steak, bacon, and cheese. Now, Oxford pies traditionally haven't scored phenomenally well on the leaderboard. However, this one has got the magic ingredient of bacon. So, without further ado, let's get it in the pie warmer because I'm getting hungry. So, to camera, Andy, to camera. So, we'll get it opened up. This came from a local store, not too far away. So, there we go. A quick spin round. Oh, I can see a problem already. Look at that. We have a crevasse down the side. That's major structural compromise going on there. That's bad, isn't it? So that during as it's warmed up and cooked, so to speak, that's gonna, I reckon, gonna open up big time. Base is good, top is good, and I think there's just one of those. There is. Okay, so we'll wait and see what happens with the cooking. Okay, let's head over, unplug you, head over and get it warmed up. Here we go. Right. We've got a few things to do while we're moving around. We're not going to go mad because there's quite a lot to cover today, you know, because I've not been in the workshop for a while. But we'll put this in here first and maybe we'll go and have a look at something. Oh, geez, at something. Now, that was in the fridge, so probably about 23 minutes should do the trick. 23? Yeah, bang on 23. And yes, I know the pie warmer really needs a good clean. I'm not... Sheldon, is your pie warmer as bad as mine? Sheldon's got one in his workshop as well. Okay, so where do we go from here? What should we have a look at? Let's have a wander over here, look. Okay, we'll get these out of the way. So, the little trailer, the little Ifor Williams trailer that I have. In fact, let me try and set you up. Hang on a second. Let's just, in fact, we'll swap tripods. And then that way we don't mess that one up. Look at this. Professionals or what? Not really. So we'll stick that down there. There we go. Okay. Can you hear me okay? Hopefully. Right, so I've got, today's job is the front springs on the little trailer this time need the front eye bushes. That'll be joyous fun. I picked up while I was in the South Island all these parts, by the way, from Atlas Trailers, just outside Christchurch. I've got a brand new wheel bearing, just in case the guy decides to fail one. That's for stock now. Because I used... The one that I removed, I had to use because one of them was, yeah, I put a second-hand bearing in just to keep it going, and it was fine. It did the 4,500 k's in the South Island. That's a new gator, or bellows, for the hitch, you know, because obviously it compresses when you brake and it activates the brakes and stuff. So, yeah, it does that basically. The old one's been perished and it's got a big crack in it, so water gets in and it's not ideal. So we've got one of those, got 2 spring eye bushes. And that's just for stock at the moment, just in case we need it if he fails it. Now, I wanted to show you this. You might remember on the big little trailer build, the adventure trailer build, I used a slightly smaller unit. This is a junction box, basically, for your wiring, obviously, or your lights and bits and pieces on your trailer. And the one I used was only just big enough, to be fair. It was packed with wires. And when I put a new bed on the small trailer the other week, that trailer's got 2 of these, one at the front, one at the rear. But the rear one, the lid had fallen off at some point, or probably part to do with the gravel roads that we drive. It had just fallen off, and of course it was all corroded inside. The lights are still working fine at the moment, but I do need to replace it when I you know, look at time. But this was only $45, and it's branded Ifor Williams trailers. And it's got these various buzz bars, so all of those terminals along there are all linked, so you can bring your earth in and take all your earths off from there, and for the other circuits you can just take them off, and you've got loads to go at. So it's really quick and easy to do, no screws to undo and things. And I thought I'd just mention it. In fact, it even tells you, look here, which ones they should be, all the standard Ifor Williams wiring. So the top one is tail light left hand. Oh well, I don't wire like that. Okay, well, it will be wired like that because it's Ifor Williams, so I'll have to follow suit. Yellow is the indicator left hand, and then the pink wire is the 3rd one down. We don't have pink in ours. Okay, that's gonna be fun. Anyway, it tells you all the various codes. So if you're stuck at the side of the road, you can work out what's what if your lid hasn't fallen off. But I thought, really, really good. The one thing that I forgot to get, and there must be a separate part, are the little grommets that go in here. So I'll have to reuse the old ones that are on the box. But if you're ever doing any trailer wiring, I would strongly recommend grabbing a couple of these because they're actually really, really good. But don't forget to get the grommets as well. 45 bucks, bargain. Right, what else have we got to look at? Let's have a wander around. Boom, boom, boom. Take you off that tripod and put you back on this one again. Okay, one more thing, and then we'll go back and do the comments because I'm going to be way behind on comments. Little monkey bike's looking very, very dirty and abused now. Look at that. Covered in mud. The cooling system is compromised. Honestly, what is she like? Oh, we lost the flag. About 20 kilometers from home, the flag finally fell off. Mrs. Mechanic was very upset, actually. She wanted to keep that flag, but it went, disappeared. Okay, over here. Yes, let's do the winch. I've been given another winch that's failed. I do like doing winches. I've got the contactor block as well, and I'm told it does not work. So we're going to do a video on that at some point and delve into it and find out what the hell's wrong with it and see if we can bring it back to life. The one up in the loft over here, look. That one there that we fixed a while ago works brilliantly. So if I can get another winch working, it might end up on one of the trailers, and that'll save me having to push things on and use ratchet straps and stuff. So that'd be really cool. So I don't know what's wrong with it. Probably maybe brushes, or it might just be a contactor block fault. I just don't know. The lads tell me the winch is knackered, but we'll see. Okay, back to the bench. Bum, bum, bum. Oh, yes, some news. Some really, really, really good news. Really, really good news. Jim K already knows the answer to this because it was on our phone conversation. But phenomenally good news. Do you remember the case of the missing hard drive? The one that contains not the only copy, but it had the backup copies of the DR200 Farm Special Adventure Ride, which is going to get edited up by Mrs. Mechanic later in the year once she's finished her monkey bike ride. I have the hard drive. It came back. I finally managed to get hold of Grant, and we had a good chat. He's a nice guy, Grant. You know, and my apologies. You always think the worst, right? You know, you think, I'm trying to get hold of this guy and I can't get hold of him. We've emailed him, tried to call him, can't get hold of him. He's just disappeared. Well, it turns out Grant is he does edit videos, obviously, but his main job is cameraman as well. And he has a really cool drone and stuff. And he does contract filming, essentially. And he does a lot of weddings as well. And he works for Central, for councils and stuff, doing filming for them and for companies. And there was the cyclone down the East Coast, and he had lots of weddings booked to do photography and so on. And of course, they were all cancelled because the whole coastline where he lived, north and south of where he lives, was just basically, I wouldn't say destroyed, but it was highly compromised. So they all got cancelled, but then they got rescheduled in other areas of New Zealand. So he ended up spending a lot of time traveling, just trying to get these weddings and fulfill those contracts for the people. So hence why he was hard to get hold of. And he has apologized profusely, which I fully accepted. You know, end of the day, he's got to get on with his day job. That's what he does. And he said, look, Andy, really sorry. Just haven't had the time to get round to doing anything. He says, I've looked through some of the footage, but I've not had any time to produce anything for you. So obviously there's no cost involved, but I'll happily send back the hard drive. So a couple of days later, sure enough, when I came back from the South Island, it was already here. And I am very happy indeed. So we've got that back. Thank you, Grant. Really appreciate it. And I'm sorry if I was giving you a bit of stick. Sorry about that, mate. Okay, so good news. Right, let's get back. Oh, my word. Hang on. Somebody sent something. Who could that be? Oh, it's the children wishing Mrs. Mechanic happy Mother's Day. Well done, kids. Okay, where do we get to? Oh, yeah, Roger Heats, what's the pie? We've done that bit. So, the Jane Governor, thank you, Andy. We'll send you an email. I think that's probably the best way, actually, to be perfectly honest, for James. I think we'll do that. Simon Rawls, speaking of alignment issues, was down the boat club today. One of the lads was dropping massive hints for 5 millimeters taken off a drive shaft coupling. Looked at him and he said, "Just ask, lol." Took 20 minutes. English. One of the lads was dropping. Simon, tell me again. I don't get. Obviously, he was short in a drive shaft, right? But struggling to get that one. Danny Hoven, hi, good morning, Danny. Welcome to my little workshop. Harry Dow, Harry Dog. Hi, Andy. Was doing some body work on my truck today. Then it started to rain. We've had terrible rain during this last week. We had. Now I was in the office working from home. I came home I got back from the South Island, got home on the Thursday night, and because I've been working weekends and stuff while I was away, which you've got to do because you've got to maximise the trip and be as efficient as you possibly can, as I keep getting told. A big story behind that. I decided it was only fair that I took a couple of days off once I got home. So I took the Friday off and the Monday off. Ended up actually, because there was a lot of admin work to get done, I thought, I'll just open my laptop Friday morning. It'll take me maybe an hour. I'll get caught up. I think 1 o'clock in the afternoon, I finally stopped. So I pretty much worked a half day Friday anyway. And I started at 7. So, I mean, 2/3 of a day, really. Then we went off into Taupo. And, yeah, more messages from the family. Excellent. Went into Taupo, did some stuff in Taupo, picked up a new washing machine because the old washing machine had decided to finally give up. And obviously the weekend, didn't really do a lot over the weekend, was feeling pretty crap, to be honest, hence why there was no live stream. And then the Monday, I did take off as well. Tuesday, Wednesday, working long days in the home office. 7 o'clock starts, finished about 6 p.m. So it was long days, but I got a lot done, but nowhere near as much as I was hoping to get done. Thursday morning, had to scoot up to Auckland, did some work at head office, and then came back Friday afternoon. And Saturday, we put the ROV together. That was yesterday. So that's what's been going on post South Island trip. And I am just about to, I'm sort of recovering from it now. I'm nearly there. I'm about, I would say about 95%. Mrs. Mechanic today is going to start, that's the plan anyway, is going to start drilling some of the plates. I've got the spring eye bushes to fit, but before that, I've got to whiz down to the tip. The trailer's full of rubbish. I've had a really good tidy up the other day, and we need to get rid of all that because I need to sort the trailer out because I need to get a warrant on it tomorrow morning because I'm on my way up to Auckland to deliver the ROV, and the warrant runs out today. Yes, it does. Where do we get to? Harry again. Figured I might as well join you for a while. Well, that's good, Harry. Nice to have you on board, mate. Connor K, about the quads that the beach patrol people use. Have you ever considered installing sacrificial zincs on them to cut back on corrosion, as well as using marine paint on the frames? Somebody else mentioned that, Connor, about using the sacrificial zincs. I think it's probably a good idea, but I haven't really gone any further than thinking it might be a good idea. To be perfectly honest, the underseal works really, really well, and as long as they don't put the machines in the sea, and I'm not talking about a few inches of seawater, that's going to happen anyway because they launch boats and stuff using these ROVs. These are the ride-in with the steering wheel. They're not the quad bikes with the handlebars. These are actually a proper vehicle, so to speak, with a roof and everything. It's when they go way into the sea, and they're maybe sort of 3 or 4 feet deep in seawater. That's when it really causes a problem. As regards the paint side of it, I use the underseal made by 3M, which seems to be pretty damn good, to be honest. It really does. So yes, they get all of that. To paint the chassis, I mean, you'd really have to strip the whole machine down to a bare chassis to do it properly. And if you were going to do that, why not get it galvanized? That's my take on it. I just get it galved and get all the A-arms and stuff galved at the same time. But that then becomes a massive job. And I don't have time to do it. And to be perfectly honest, it would probably take the machine out of the purchase budget for the club themselves. So I think we've hit a sort of happy medium with the underseal from day one before they receive the machine. The next step really is to get them to sell the machine after 2 years, not 3. And then it's sold with a 1 year balance on the warranty. It's worth a lot more money and it's nowhere near as badly corroded. And the running costs of the machine, year 3, I mean, I know because I do the work, year 3 is about the same as years 1 and 2 put together. So there's a lot more expense for them on the maintenance on year 3. So they'd avoid all of that as well. So when you start working out the figures, they'd be far, far better off financially to chop it in and get a new one after the 2nd year. 2 seasons, get rid of it. Not 3 seasons, get rid of it. Or in some cases, some clubs, 4 or even 5 seasons, and then the machine's it's just parts. That's all it is. The chassis is usually pretty bad by that point if they keep it too long. But thanks for your comment there, Connor. I think you raised a very valid point, and it's something which maybe I'll look into, JJ, morning, Andy and crew. Good morning, JJ. Welcome back to the workshop, sir. Mike Adams, howdy, y'all. Andy, after building your own trailer, doesn't it give a man a new respect for why manufacturers charge so much for them at dealerships? I learnt it when I build things. Yes and no, to be honest. There's a lot of boat trailers here in New Zealand, a hell of a lot of boat trailers. They're all over the place. Boating, I mean, there's a lot of coastline, there's a lot of bays and beaches and so on. And fishing is a massive thing here. Personal fishing, recreational fishing is a massive thing here in New Zealand. So, of course, a lot of people own their own boat and they have a boat trailer to tow it around behind their ute. That's sort of a pretty standard thing here in New Zealand. And these boat trailers, they are just a box section frame with 2, maybe 3 cross members that have got the V in to allow for the hull, and then a load of rollers and a hitch, and most of them are not even braked. They are an extremely basic trailer, and I've repaired many of them over the years. I don't do that kind of stuff anymore, not really. But when I was living up at Greenhithe outside Auckland, I actually did a lot of trailers. There's a lot of people have boat trailers in that village, and I seem to constantly get asked to do repairs. And there's some videos that I did a long time ago on repairing boat trailers, some pretty big ones actually as well. And what they charge for those trailers, yes, they're galvanized, but phenomenal amount of money for what it actually costs to make them. And the other trailers that are for sale here, yes, you can get some Kiwi built, some New Zealand built, little sort of box square trailers, single axle. Some of them don't even have any leaf springs at all. The axle's just bolted straight to the chassis. They're not too bad. There's Kia trailers. They seem to be a pretty good brand. There's a few others around New Zealand that are okay. We're seeing a lot more UK trailers coming in now. IFA Williams are all over the place. Everywhere you drive now, you see IFA Williams trailers. When I first came to New Zealand, 14 years ago now, the little LT 105, whatever it is, the small trailer that I have, that was pretty much the only one around. You just didn't see any more. People were, what the hell's that? Who makes that? They just didn't know the brand. Now, people have realized just how good value the IFA Williams are, how well built they are, and how easy it is to get parts. I mean, all the parts are standardized, they're off the shelf, they're easy. The problem with New Zealand trailers is you have no idea what wheel bearings are fitted, the leaf springs, there's no sort of part numbers. You've just got to take off what you've got and try and get it matched up. So repair times are longly delayed, they're extended, and it's not good. A lot of home built trailers here in New Zealand. We're using all sorts of really old car parts and stuff. I hate that kind of thing. I just want to be able to, like with a car or a motorbike, order the parts, get the vehicle in, do the job, get it out. Nice and slick. So yes, they do charge a lot of money for trailers, but I think in some cases it's not justified. They're a bit greedy, to be honest, for what they are. Especially when they're making hundreds at a time in batches. The cost of building it is pretty low in reality. Right, William Brody, Hi, Andy and crew. 4 p.m. on Saturday here in Blaine, Minnesota, in the US of A. Nice. And welcome to the workshop, William. Simon, 200 letters maximum comment, lol. He wanted 5mm of a drive shaft coupling. Hinting like mad within eye shot of me. Said, just ask. 20 minutes on the lathe and done. I used to do all sorts with front prop shafts on the little Suzuki Jeeps. And the rears, I used to make them up. We used to knock out the rears a lot quicker than the fronts, for whatever reason. So often I would grab a front prop shaft, cut it down and make it into a rear and weld it back up again. And for our kind of use around the forest, it worked just fine. It wasn't balanced. All I had to do basically was get the yokes, parallel, so the whole thing ran true. I had a little jig to do that, and it worked pretty well. Thank you, Simon, for doing that again for me. I understand what you're on about now. MF50B. What? I didn't have a lathe either at that time, so it was just angle grinder, slit disc, cut it where you think it is, grind off the old bit of weld, and slide it into the sleeve, line it all up, and weld it up. And it worked. It worked pretty well. It wasn't ideal, and you wouldn't do it on a road-going vehicle, but it was good enough for us. MF50B, what does ROV stand for? Recreational off-road vehicle. I'm guessing the same machine we call a mule in Yorkshire. Well, mule is a brand name, that's Kawasaki, but you're on the right track. Other areas of the world call them side-by-sides. ATVs, I suppose it does fall under the ATV category, but I think more of quad bikes as ATVs rather than the sit-in vehicles with proper seats and stuff, and seat backs and steering wheels and dashboards and that kind of thing, But yes, in New Zealand they used to call them side-by-sides, and now they call them ROVs. Now then, Pete White, hi Andy. I saw a photo of an Oxford pie. Is it that Oxford North Canterbury? It might be. I don't know. Let's have a look, see what it's made. I just know there's Oxford pies. There is an Oxford down in Canterbury, you're right. Ingredients, where's it made? Does it have an address? I'm surprised it hasn't got an address on there. Hang on a minute, let's Google it. I think you could be right. But there is also a pie shop in Oxford that's nothing to do with them. They have two pie shops. They're up for sale at the moment, by the way. Google, right. Oxford pies, New Zealand. Award-winning pies. No, they're in Hamilton. Nowhere near Oxford. They're based in Hamilton. There you go. Didn't think it was. So no, you're good to ask, but no, they're not the Oxford. I think we've been down to the shop down there and the pie shop and done a video on one of their pies. And they're completely different. They're all made by themselves in this little pie shop, not in a factory like they are. Now, where do we get to? Pete White. I thought it might have been because you were down this way the other week. It wouldn't have survived that long. I'd have had to eat it while I was down there. But no, Oxford pies, Hamilton. Established in 1977. Factory pies, basically, aren't they? That's what they are. They're just mass produced. They're not home or localized bakery made. There'd be a lot of machinery making those pies. I doubt a human hand will have even touched that pie until it came out of the bag. Pete White, haha. Very good, Pete. Now, is that all the comments? It is. So, what else have we got to cover? I'm sure there's some more. We've got some parcels. We have. Let's go and do a parcel while the pie's still cooking. I'm dribbling a bit at the moment. Sorry, chaps. Okay, where should we do this? Let's do it over at that bench again. We'll use the big tripod. Okay, here we go. 1, 2, 3. Boom. Turning around. Bang. Nice. Okay, so what should we do first? Let's do... In fact, we'll do this one because it's lighter to carry. I can carry it with one hand. Right. Heading over. Hope you're enjoying the live stream. Feels a bit weird being back in the workshop again. Right, we'll stick you in this one. There we go. And I'll get my knife. And stick those over there because I'll need those later on. Or at least the bushes anyway. Right. This turned up. Dum 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 dum. It's really well packed. I wonder if we can go for the bottom. We'll go for the bottom. Easier. There we go. Always cut away from myself, so I'm told. Are we on camera? We are on camera, just. Okay, we're going in. It's extremely light, by the way. It's almost a box of air, it feels like. Yeah. What have we got in here? Oh! Oh! Oh, yes. Oh, yes. I am a very, very, very happy person here. Those of you who've been following the saga of the missing hard drives will know exactly what I'm on about. Very well packed, by the way. I'll tell you a little story about this. While I was in the South Island, obviously I was editing up videos, and I use these little solid-state hard drives because they're really handy and they take up a lot of space to store all the rushes and stuff, and then the work-in-progress videos on Power Director, and then also the final rendered videos. And I lost it. I had no idea where it was, and I was trying to sort of work out when the last time I used it. Then I knew I had it by that date, and then the accommodation places I'd stayed in moving forward, and any one of those I could have left it in. And I put a shout out to the company that organizes all the travel for us and does all the bookings, and they emailed all the accommodation providers with a photo of a very similar drive saying, hey, look, can you check Andy's room that he stayed in for something that looks like this? And I got an email back the next a couple of days later saying, we've had responses back from most of them and nobody could find it, which was really sad. And then, hang on, I'll turn you around, because you need the facial expressions on this. There we go. Right, and then, oh my word, terrible. And then I got a message from Sheldon in Oamaru, and the message was just a photo, and the photo was almost identical to the photo that I'd sent out on my email. And I looked at it and I'm like, what's he doing sending me my own photo? Silly sod. And then I looked at it again, and the hard drive was on a different table. It was laid out exactly the same way as the picture I'd taken. And I'm like, ooh, is that my hard drive that I've lost? So I quickly messaged him, is that my hard drive? And I got this big thumbs up. So I rang him immediately and I said, Sheldon, how come you've got my hard drive? Did I leave it at work? Which is really odd because I keep it in my editing laptop bag and that wouldn't have gone into the dealership. And he said, no. The guy that runs the Mariners Suites where I stayed popped in and he dropped it off. And I'm like, oh man, is that where I left it? He says, yeah, it was in the room on the table. So I'm like, wow, that is so lucky that I got it back. So I owe the guy a pint, and I also owe Sheldon a couple of pints for actually putting it in there by courier and sending it up. So thank you very much, Sheldon, for sending me my second lost hard drive. It was a bit bizarre having two gone AWOL at the same time, but very, very nice to have it back. All's well that ends well is what we say, isn't it, in England? So I'm very happy. Thank you to Sheldon for sending it up and for letting me know that it had been handed in. So the plan of attack now is I'm going to link them all together with these. They've all got these like little sort of keyring holder things built into them, and we'll link them all together so that it's a bigger thing, because I have 4 or 5 of these now, and then hopefully, and maybe even tether them to my bloody laptop bag or something, so I can't leave them behind, because they're actually quite easy to lose. They're very small now, and a normal size hard drive a bit harder to lose, but these very simple to lose. So, and not cheap. These things, this is only a 1 terabyte. It's not that expensive, but this would have been about $300, maybe $250-300 when I bought it. So I was a bit sad when it went missing, to be honest. I was upset with myself for losing something. I hate losing things. So again, thank you, Sheldon. We'll stick that over there with the other one, and they will go back in the office. Right, we've done 1 parcel. Very important parcel, so thank you, Sheldon. The pie has now gone ping. Stick that up there out of the way. Let's go and get the other parcel and get that one out of the way, and then we can do the pie review, and then we can sign off. Right, here we go. Turn you around. 3, 2, 1. Boom. Now, second parcel. This is going to be fun carrying this because it's bloody heavy. I know what's in it. I have already opened it. I had no idea what it was when it was delivered to home. So it looks like that, by the way. Sorry. There you go. Look, it's got liquidy stuff in it. Right. Okay. Can I carry it one-handed? I don't know. Yes. Just hang in there, cardboard box. Hang in there. You can do it. This won't take long, and then we'll do the pie. Okay, let's get you back in the thingamajig. There we go. Get you set up. Slightly different camera angle because it's quite large, is this thing. Okay, don't need the knife. Go away, fly. More stuff. Pump dispenser. That might give you some ideas, but you have no idea really. You couldn't at this point in time. You could not guess what this is. There we go. It is Speedway sauce. Why has Andy got Speedway sauce, you ask? Well, let me tell you. Let's go back to the bench and I'll tell you all about Speedway sauce and the story behind why I've got or been sent. What size container is it? 5 litres of Speedway sauce. What the hell? It's going to last me forever. It really is. Right, so we'll stick him over there. We've got a part on the bench. We'll stick you back in. All this moving around, Andy. Sorry, viewers. There we go. So, on my trip in the South Island, during my trip, obviously, as you know, I had the trailer with me as well. And logistics-wise, I organised to leave the trailer at various places around the country for a few days at a time. So I wasn't towing the trailer about doing visits to the motorcycle shops wherever possible. There was 1 or 2 I had to, but most of them I didn't have to. And I went to go and drop off the trailer at Matt's house, just north of Christchurch. He was going to store it for me. Well, he actually stored it for me on the way south when I was heading south. It had a car on it, Mrs. Mechanic's car for Eloise to use, a little Suzuki Swift. And then I also dropped it off there for a few days with some motorcycles on. It had a little, I think it was a TS 185, which is here, which I'm going to show you on the next live stream because I'd already put it outside before I remembered. It had a Yamaha Grizzly 4-wheel drive ATV, one of the very first 4-wheel drive ATVs that they produced. 600cc, a classic bike, absolute awesome find. So again, in the future, there'll be some videos on that, and it's really tidy. It really is. It'd be a good one to keep hold of, a classic machine. And it really shows the history of where ATVs have come from, given the age of the machine. They weren't without problems, but we can discuss all of that, when in a few years' time, probably. And we're also very fortunate to pick up a 5th, yes, the 5th TDR 250. Anyway, I digress. The trailer had stuff on it, and it was stored at Matt's house. And Matt invited me in for a beer. He just had some surgery on one of his hands after he crashed motorcycle racing a few months ago. And Matt's phone rang, and I recognized the name on the phone, Martin. So with Matt only having one hand, he was struggling to pick the phone up. So I grabbed the phone. It was at the side of the workshop because Matt's a motorcycle mechanic, very good motorcycle mechanic, and we were in his workshop having a beer on the evening. And so I grabbed his phone and I answered the phone and put it on speakerphone and just held the phone so that Matt could talk. But I answered it and I said, "Hey, Andy Mechanic here. How can I help?" And there was this very long sort of pause, this big long satellite delay going on. And then Martin went, "Andy Mechanic, what are you doing on Matt's phone?" He was really taken back and really shocked as to why I was on the phone on Matt's phone. So it was quite funny. You had to be there to fully appreciate it, but it was a classic move, and I played it very well. Anyway, long story short, Martin had Matt do some work on some of his race bike wheels, and Matt had removed the bearings and the little spaces that sit between the bearings inside the wheels, and they needed to go back to Nelson. And it just happened that my next stop was going to be Nelson. So I said, "Yeah, no problem. We'll put them in a bag." And I'll bring them to Nelson and I can drop them off for you, not a problem. Which I did. I found his place of work, and dropped them off, and didn't think anything more of it. I missed him. He'd gone out to get some lunch when I dropped them off, so he wasn't there. But said to the lady at the counter, these are for Martin. Can you make sure he gets them? And she's like, yes, Martin gets a lot of deliveries like this, bits of motorcycle parts, So I said, oh, very good. So I drove off and carried on my run because I couldn't hang around. And Martin said to me, I've sent you some Speedway sauce. So, Martin, from me to you, thank you very much. Really appreciate that. I did try some last night in a couple of burgers. Very tasty. It's a bit like tomato sauce, but it's a bit different. And basically, I will never need to buy any more tomato sauce in my entire life. I don't like most of the New Zealand tomato sauces. I like the Heinz one, that's all right. But Speedway sauce tastes pretty good to me. So if you're ever around, you spot Speedway sauce. Maybe you're not going to buy a 5-litre container, but maybe if there's a smaller container out there in a supermarket and you live in New Zealand, then, give it a try. They're not a sponsor. I just thought I'd mention it, as things come through. Right, another pie is ready. We're going to quickly catch up with comments, then we'll start the pie. Wesley Holmes. Is that a Boxford lathe in the background? It is. That's my little Boxford. And we've also got a Myford in many, many pieces. Much smaller machine kicking around the workshop. I have spotted another one, actually, at a dealership, which doesn't seem to be used. So I might make them an offer on that one, and then we can make one good one out of two. But we'll see. That's possibly going to work. Because the bed on that one is not great. It really isn't. Now then, Roger Heaps. We missed out having bacon. We did. I am sorry. I was really against the clock, and I was not feeling well. I was full of flu, and the last thing I wanted was to bring flu to your doorstep. I know you're a busy chap as well, and you don't want to get ill. So my apologies. We'll have to do it next time round, matey, when I'm down again. Oh, Roger, when you and Mrs. Mechanic were here. Very poor. Oh, when we were there. Yes. But you did cook us a really nice evening meal. You did. We'll do bacon next time I'm down, because the bacon you've got there is very, very tasty. So I would definitely have some more for sure. Simon, what does it take to call the award-winning pies? Or what's it called to call them award-winning pies? Dad's pies say that and don't get a good score. A lot of them say they're award-winning. There must be lots of different awards for pies around New Zealand. And I mean, the award might be for the crappiest pie in New Zealand. They still get an award, right? So I really don't know. Proof is in the pudding. Once we've eaten the pie, we can rate it, can't we? And, I've eaten a lot of pies over the years, and you can tell by my physique. That and cider, obviously. And, I think I'll give a pretty good verdict on what are good pies here in New Zealand and what are not good pies. But it is my own taste. Obviously, other people prefer different flavoured pies and different brands, and, it's only a guide. But I do my best. I do the research, do my best. And I do it for you, the viewers. So you're going to go out and buy good pies and not crappy pies. There's some really crappy pies in New Zealand. Now then, Virginia Governor. Andy, very hard to find some honest people. Everybody has a motive, right? Ulterior motive. I also hate losing stuff and lending out tools. I hate waste. I hate losing things. And to get both of those 2 hard drives back, I'm very, very pleased. I really am. And you're quite right. It would have been that room was probably had a few other people go through it. How on earth it could still be there, I don't know. Maybe the cleaning lady picked it up and just put it in lost property. I don't know the background behind it. But, long story short, they're both home, and I'm quite relieved, to be honest. I really am. But you're quite right, Vijayant. It is, it's very easy for people to see something and go, that'll be useful. I'll just put that in my pocket and I'll use that, And it's not so much the drive. Yes, it's got a monetary value, but it's the stuff that's on it. There's some files on there that were unique to that drive that I couldn't replace. I always like to keep the editing file, the Power Director file, on my hard drives as well. If I ever want to go back and re-edit or revisit that video, I don't have to edit the whole thing again. And the final rendered video, you know, yes, it's on YouTube, it's on the channel, but I wouldn't have a copy of the actual rendered video, and I'm not going to sit there and render it again, and edit it again. It's just one that would be lost, and I would never be able to post it anywhere else. So it's great to have it back. And I mean, there may be some other stuff on that drive that I would have lost that I don't even know what's on it at the moment. I mean, there's all sorts of stuff gets put on there. Simon, so look in the back of the sauce bottle. Once open, use within so many days. Oh my God, you got. Am I going to have to just drink Speedway sauce for the next few months? Best before. Oh wow. Best before. The 27th of the 9th, 2024. So we're going to keep it in the fridge. I know it's big and it takes a lot of fridge space, but I think that's the best way of preserving it. We've got what? We're on the 5th now. We've got about a year and a third. So about 14 months, 15 months, 16 months to eat it, consume it. Do you eat sauce? You consume sauce, don't you? Challenge accepted. When Ben comes down, Ben uses, in fact, when Ben comes down, I might give him some of it because Ben loves his tomato sauce. He has tomato sauce on everything. In fact, he'd probably put a straw in it and just drink it now and Ben. Thank you, Simon. Good point. It is on the lid, so we should be able to remember that every time we open it. Wesley Holmes, that's cool. I've got one. I made a rear crank seal fitting the tool on it. Having a lathe, I think, is one of the most important things to have in your workshop. It's super useful, even just for cleaning up things, you know, round things, bars. I use it a lot for cleaning up the pins, the pad retaining pins on calipers and stuff. I've made loads of things of it on it over the years, and it's just been cool. Some things I make for fun. Some things I have to make because I need to make them. And yeah, you can do a lot of stuff on a lathe. And I'm still learning. I'm not an expert on a lathe at all. But I do really enjoy having one, and it doesn't take up a lot of space in the workshop, and it's cool. It's really cool. And then once you've bought one and you've got set up with all the various bits and pieces and stuff for it, they're not that expensive to keep, you know, keep using really. You know, the cutting bits are not that expensive for them. Pretty good. Hang on a minute, right. Wesley Holmes, best get making Speedway burgers. Fly, where the hell did that come from? You'll be dead shortly, Mr. Fly. Now then. Punk Lee. Hello, Andy. How's your day? My day's cold. Mrs. Mechanic told me to wear my jacket. I did bring it in. It's on the door over there, but I forgot to put it on. Yeah, so I'm pretty cold. Simon Raw, just seen it. What's in the chuck? You know exactly what's in the chuck. Should we go and have a look? And we'll go and get the pie. Right, we'll turn you around. 3, 2, 1. Boom. Oh, here we go again. We're off around the workshop again. Oh, my left knee's killing me at the moment. Right, what's in the chuck? What's in the chuck? There it is. It's in the chuck, Simon. Already been used. Very useful indeed. Thank you very much for that. And you did also send me... They're still here, look, from the last live stream on Sheldon. You sent me the taps as well, look, so I can re-tap it. I'll make a new one if I need to. So that's really cool. Need to put those away safely. Well, I've had to label them up and put them away safely as well. But no, there you go. Let you see. Guarantee, proof in the pudding. It's been used and very successfully. Thank you. Right. Pie time. Ooh, look at that golden brown. Oh, it's a bit... Oh, where's that crack? Oh, my word. Look at that. That's monstrous. Carry that with care, won't we? You can see it all flexing up and stuff. Right. To the bench. So, Oxford pies, it's not looking ideal, is it? Right, we'll stick that somewhere. I've moved things around a bit today. Normally the laptop's up in the middle of the bench. I don't know why it's over there, but anyway. We'll make it work. Right, turn you around, 3, 2, 1, boom. There we have. Right, we're on. Coffee's getting cold. Too many cigarettes as always. Get rid of those. Bit of coffee. Oh, that's really cold. Right, we need the score sheets. We've got the score sheet all cleaned up, ready to go. You can hear the snot, can't you? Sorry. Okay. Wesley Holmes, me too. I'm still learning. Can pick them up cheap. You can. The lathes. A lot of people are not. You know, a lot of hobbyists. There's people. There's less interest in using lathes these days, unfortunately. And a lot of obviously the bigger lathes for manufacturing and things, they tend to be going, you know, replacing them with these, you know, computer controlled lathes and stuff. So all the skill sets disappearing. Anyway, yes, buy a lathe. You'll enjoy it, even as a hobby. Good fun. Something to learn as you get a bit older. So, quick spin round. We've got a massive crack. Dun 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 dun. Underneath. Oh, hang on, I can't do underneath that way, can I? There we go. Underneath that way. Oh, you can see that crack. Look at that. And the lid, pretty good. Okay, so this, for those that have just joined us, I haven't done a pie review for ages. It's an Oxford pie. It's not made in Oxford, made in Hamilton, in a factory. Do they say award-winning? Generously sized. It's 220 grams. 200 grams seems to be about the average, so it is slightly over. 100% New Zealand made. A Kiwi legend since 1977. Not sure about that. Okay, right. Doesn't say it's an award-winning pie on the packaging. Maybe they've lost their awards. Don't know. Okay, so this is a steak, bacon, and cheese. It's got the magic ingredient bacon in there, so that might help a little bit with the scores. Let's find out. Here we go. So, as always, I've eaten the worst part, the structurally worst part of the pie first, to give it a fighting chance. It's incredibly soft on the base, and it does crack as well when it flexes. So the outer part of the pastry is quite brittle, and the inner is quite flexible. Doesn't really give the pie a lot of support. So I'm already finding that I'm holding the pie vertically. That's a trick. If the pie is structurally compromised, it sort of helps to just keep the whole thing together and takes the pressure off the base. The last thing you want to do is put your thumb through the base of the pie. It suddenly gets really messy really quick. There you go. Look at that. So we can see the bacon, we can see the cheese, and we can see the steak. And it's not sort of full of massive amounts of gravy. There's a few voids in there. Look, you can see down there, there's a huge void. It's not too bad, actually. It tastes okay. Oh, look at that. Big chunks of meat. Huge chunks of bacon. Not the little tiny fragments that you normally get in a bacon pie, or pie with bacon. These are actually huge chunks of bacon. So that's a big plus. So, taste stroke flavour of the contents. I'm going to eat it quite quickly because it is going to get cold really quick. We've had better. We have had better, but it is actually pretty good. I'm going to give it an 8 for the flavour. So it scored quite highly on that for an Oxford pie. Structure fully partners. Well, I'm going to leave that for a little bit longer. It's not ideal. It's obviously sub 10 already. 10's maximum score. It hasn't had a catastrophic failure yet. The lid, I mean, you can see this or not, but the lid, can I lift it up? Well, I'll show you. The lid round here has broken free from the side as well. So that's not helping. There you go. Am I making you hungry? Should be. Runnability test. It's a good time to do that now. Right. How the hell am I going to do this and support the pie at the same time? I don't know. 45 degrees, 30 seconds. There's your 45. I'm seeing small movement. Oh, there's a fly out there. But it's not just flowing out of the pie. It's actually relatively stable. So that's not a bad score, actually. Well, it's about as good as it's not rock solid for sure. It's all right. It's just all right. I think it was any more fluid and it would have easily run out of there. It's very, very soft is the base. Very, very soft indeed. It's requiring some good pie management. I'm going to give it. It did pass the test, but only just. I'm going to give it an 8. I think 8's a fair score. I think if it was hotter, it would probably have flowed and it would have dribbled some stuff out. So I'm going to give it an 8 for that one. Meat quality. Well, that's a bit of bacon. Definitely taste the bacon, and it is a real piece of bacon. It's not like a fake bit of bacon that's been synthetically put back together from little tiny bits. It's all right, is that? I mean, I like my bacon to be nice and not super crispy, but to be fried rather than cooked. If I was to make my own pies with bacon in, I'd fry the bacon in a frying pan separately and then put it, chop it up, fry it, then put it in the pie and then cook the pie. I'm not a cook, might not work, but that's how that's the kind of texture of bacon I'd like to have in a pie, is like you get with your bacon and eggs for your breakfast. Okay, so meat quality. The steak, believe it or not, the steak is actually smaller pieces than the bacon. You can see quite a lot of gravy now coming through on the pie. So I'm going to give them a 7. Overall, a 7. Between the bacon and the steak, I'll give them a 7. Pie to crust ratio. This would be quite high, although there was a big air void in there, wasn't there, as well? So, it's pretty packed. The pastry is extremely thin. Along the bottom, it's about 3 mil. Even in that corner there is quite chunky. This one's quite small. Corner, it's a round pie, Andy. You know what I mean? The seam here, the radial seam, pretty small cross section on this side, but a much larger cross section on the other. And you can see now it's just starting to bellow out of the contents. It's pretty close to falling out of the pie, which is really bad. And the reason for that is because the pie here, when I'm holding it, it's pushing in, it's forcing the contents out. So structural integrity is a really important part of a pie. Oh, there you go. So we've got bacon down the bottom there, look, and there's a big chunk of steak. Well, I say big, there's a chunk of steak there. It's still smaller than the bacon though. So pie to crust ratio, relatively high. I'm going to give it, I sort of have to give it a 9, really. So we'll give that a 9. Although, to be fair, there does seem now to be quite a lot of gravy in there, but it is still contents of the pie. So, yeah, I'd have preferred some larger chunks of steak in there, but hey, it is what it is. Now, availability and logistics. Oxford pies that are made in Hamilton, not Oxford in the South Island, or Oxford in the UK, to be fair. They are readily available in supermarkets, dairies. You can't buy them online, I don't think, but there's plenty of them out there, so pretty high on the availability list. Oh, pardon me, or scale. First burp. 8. Can't buy them online. 8. I think, or maybe 7. I'll give it a 7 actually, because they're not available at all dairies, that's for sure. Pastry taste rating, pretty bland, to be honest. But there's no weird aftertaste. We will steal a bit of the lid. Yeah, it's just pastry. It's not, they haven't really put any thought into the flavour of the pastry or to season it. Nothing like that. More bacon. Nice. So pastry taste rating, pretty mediocre. I'll give it a 6. Pretty mediocre, to be honest. Still tastes when cold. I think with the bacon in there and stuff, it'd probably be okay. I'll wait to score that at the end. Now, packaging design. The bag. It's a plastic bag, right? Yeah, they've put a bit of thought into the design of it. It's got a little window at the front so you can see what you're buying, which is good. And there's a strip down the back that's clear as well, so you can see the back of it. I think they've put a bit of thought into that. They've got the little Facebook page, and you can email. They've got their email address there, so you can email the sales department and tell them how great their pies are, or whatever. Facebook stuff, website address, phone number. So they obviously want to be contacted, which is nice. They're not just going to bury their head in the sand. It tells you all about the nutritional information of a pie, which is probably something you don't want to read. It says heat before you eat. Absolutely conventional oven. Even tells you the temperatures. That's quite useful. Not many pie wrappers give you that information. Actually, that's very, very good. Well done, Oxford Pies. I'll give you a plus for that. Now the bag is also perforated. I think you can see the little tiny dots all over the front. There we are. Look, you can there down the middle. It is perforated so that when it's in a pie warmer in a dairy or a corner shop, as you'd call it, although they're not on corners anymore here in New Zealand, it doesn't sweat quite so much, because there's nothing worse than a sweaty pie. So there is some thought gone into it. So packaging design, what do I give them for that? I reckon we should give them a 9. It's not perfect, but I think that there's a lot of work has gone into that packaging, especially with the perforations and stuff. Now, recyclable score. It is plastic. Is it recyclable? It's got a picture of a dustbin on the back there. Look at the bottom, just down there. You probably can't see that very well. And it says, keep New Zealand clean, dispose of wrapper thoughtfully. I.e., don't throw it out of your car window. So, it's not recyclable. But they have told us to put it in the bin. What do they get? They get a 1. We'll give them a 1. Post-pie heartburn. We've already had one burp. That's always a sign there could be some heartburn down the line. But we'll wait for that. Pie server attractiveness. Mrs. Mechanic picked the pie up. She said a strong 7. Maybe I should have gone to get the pie. Right. I'm in so much trouble again. We're getting close. It's nearly all gone. And it is cooling down really quick. So, we could do structure fall apartness. The last little bit is still intact. It wasn't great. It took an awful lot of management. There isn't too much on the bench, to be fair. Bench is still pretty clean. Probably still too much for inside your car, to be fair. There's probably 50 little pieces of pastry all over the bench. But, fall apartness, a big crack at the start. The lid was coming loose. Took a lot of pie management. 6. I think 6 is fair. I'm going to go with a 6. Still tasty when cold. I've got bacon in there. Quite a lot of slimy gravy though. 7. Oh, I'll give it a 7. I don't know how good the pastry would taste cold, to be fair. It's pretty bland. Stuffability score. One last bite. We'll find out. Do I feel stuffed? Or am I still hungry? I could still eat some toast, actually. I'm not at the being perfectly content from a hunger perspective. To me, would be a 10. If I'm overstuffed, then the score would come down, or if I'm still left hungry, the score comes down. I'm sort of still a bit hungry. There was quite a lot of gravy. The meat was, the bacon was all right, although it was a little bit soft and gooey. There was no crispy element to the bacon at all, and there was a couple of slithers of fat in there, which I don't mind if it being crispy, but when it's just like a cooked bacon in like an oven, the fat's a bit weird, isn't it? You know, it's not quite the same. I like, if it's a pork chop, for example, I like the rind to be nice and crispy. And I bring out all the flavour. So, stuffability score. Seven. And post pie heartburn. Only one burp so far, so we'll give them a 9 for now. It's a pretty high score. We'll give them a 9. That may well change while I'm working on the trailer, fitting those eye bushes. If I start to run for the Gaviscon or whatever, then of course I'm going to knock the score down and you'll see it change on the board. So, have we got them all? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. All the scores are in. Ow, my left knee's seizing up. Okay, getting old. Let's tally up the scores. We'll have one last cigarette and then we'll call it a day. Right, I'm going to turn you around. 3, 2, 1. Boom. There we go. Right, we'll stick you down there. And I did remember to get a little thingamajig. So we've got that. So we've got 14, 22, 29, 38. Hang on a minute, there's a burp. 38, remember that one's, that's an 8 now. Where were we? I forget. Okay, 14, 22, 29, 38, 45, 51, 58, 67, 68, 76, 83, oh wow, 83, 90. 90 is not too bad a score. It's sort of respectable, isn't it? It's not great, but it's not crap. Okay, tell me if I got my scores wrong. I could do. It's Sunday. Oxford pies. Steak. A little bit. Bacon. More. And cheese. And you could definitely taste the cheese. Cheese wasn't too bad. Now, it was a 220 gram. And we got 90 as the score. Now, any particular thing that really stuck out as being crap? Other than recyclable score, about the pie itself? Not really. It was sort of poor structure. How's that? Poor structure. Sort of close to falling apart. Okay, let's have a wander across and get this put on the bleeder board and see where we end up. 90. That wasn't too bad. I mean, they could definitely improve on it, couldn't they? You see 90 is right down here, look. Hang on, let's get a, oh, there's quite a few 90s, look. See, Toad Hall. That was a very tasty pie, but it was only available at one place in New Zealand, so they lost a lot of marks for that. Should I put them at the top of there? Shouldn't do, really, should I? I was a bit biased. We'll stick them there, look, on that one. There we go. You can tell the workshop's been busy, can't you? Jeez. Okay, so Oxford pies, steak, bacon and cheese, 90. Any more Oxford pies on the board? Yes, Oxford pies, steak and cheese, 88. So by putting the bacon in, it gave them 2 more points. Wow. You see, bacon makes everything better, even pies that are not great. Man, there's a lot of pies on there now. There really is only about enough space for about 10 more pies. We were going to stop doing pies, weren't we? Remember? I couldn't stop doing pies. Pies are great. You only live once. Have a pie. You'll definitely thin off when you're not around anymore, you know? Holy crap. 1 hour and 18 minutes. Mr. Young. Mind you, we normally go for an hour and a half, don't we? So that's not too bad. Right, let's get you organised. There we are. Right, we're on. So I think all we've got left to do now is have the last cigarette. Oh, we've still got a couple left, right? One more cigarette, which is terrible, really. Children, if you're thinking of smoking, don't. It's really bad for you. And it's bloody expensive. It really is. I should stop. I really should. There we go. Oh, and I've not changed the calendar since I've been back. That's probably Miss April. It will be. So I need to change the calendar. Jared, remind me to change the calendar. Okay, where do we get to? So just seeing it. What's Wesley? JJ, I love my little Boxford too. They're good little lathes. I used to have one. I used to use one at school when I was at Bootham School in York. They had a few Boxford lathes there. JJ, hi, the thumbs up like button, y'all. Oh, hit the like button. Why not? Do it. Simon, if you are going to buy a lathe, buy the biggest lathe you can. Moving from my Myford to a lot bigger lathe, the difference is unreal. Being able to take a 1mm cut in one go saves so much time. That's a very, very good call there, Simon. Not only have you got a bigger bed, the motors are more powerful, that kind of stuff. So they're a much more capable machine. And plus, you can get bigger things in the chucks because the chucks are bigger and there's more clearance between the bed and the center of the chuck. I did actually manage just on that little lathe a few years ago. In fact, I just brought the lathe down to this workshop actually. It's about three years ago. We had the little Suzuki Alto here, and it had the dreaded pulsating brake pedal when you were braking. It turned out that the front discs were warped and they need to be re-skimmed. So I just put them in the lathe, set them up with a DTI, and I actually re-skimmed the discs in the lathe, one side at a time, which is a bit dodgy, but it worked. And the brakes on it were brilliant after that. I actually fixed them. I was very impressed. But those brake discs only just fit in the lathe. On the little Myford over there, obviously Dave at some point, who used to be the previous owner, he had to do something in that lathe where there wasn't quite enough clearance. And if you look back at the videos, you'll see that Dave actually took an angle grinder to the lathe bed. Yes. Another reason why maybe I'll be looking to buy another one and make one good one out of two, because I know the other lathe bed's in good nick. And it's the same model. So that will be a good thing. And it'll give us lots of spare parts and things. So maybe if I can get it for the right kind of money, I'd be tempted to do that because I've still got some more bits and pieces to buy for that one. So if I spend that money instead on this other one and buy the whole thing, I think it's a win. I think it's a win-win, is that? But we'll see. It's a long-term project, is that one. Now then, thank you, Simon, for that one. The Giants, Andy, you need to count how many pies you had in total, please, when you have some time. Oh, I can't. Well, you mean the ones we've done the reviews on? I'll do that. In fact, we'll do that on the next live stream. Remind me, and we'll go across and do it. We're a bit short of time today, but we'll do it on the next one. Gary Garnett, haven't been able to watch you due to the time difference from you to Dubai. I'll have a chat with the people that do the time zones and see if we can get that changed for you. No problem at all. Seriously, I Sunday mornings, that's when I do my live streams. I very rarely ever do a live stream at any other time, to be fair. So my apologies. Sorry, Gary. Gary, presently on night shift. Glad you still got the pie tasting going. Oh, good. Somebody actually enjoys the pie tasting. Yes, you made me hungry. That's partly the plan. Simon, you must have the only gap bed Myford in New Zealand, lol. It's not ideal, it really isn't. When I saw that, I was just like, I looked at it and then looked at Dave and went, seriously? And he went, yeah, had a job to do, had to get it done. For a race bike was racing the next day, had to go on the lathe. And it's like, oh, serious. Anyway, it is what it is. Bastian from KWH BSN. Hi there. Didn't watch your live streams for a while. Sorry. That's all right. By the way, been to New Zealand in February. Nice part of the world. It is. New Zealand as a country and landscape is incredible. It's so diversified. There's so many different types of landscape. From right up at the north, right down to the bottom of the South Island. It's just constantly changing. South Island mountains are amazing, absolutely amazing. There's a lot more native bush sort of areas up in the North Island because there's a lot more rain and stuff. South Island, a lot more arid, huge rocky mountains, massive open plains. seems to take a long way to get anywhere in the South Island. But the roads in general are quieter and in better condition. And the views are absolutely incredible. And you'll, again, for those that have watched the Rescue Charlotte series, for example, will see on those videos just the phenomenal views. And again, you'll get another gist of all that when Mrs. Mechanic's Monkey Bike videos hit in a few weeks' time. She's very close to finishing the first episode. And she's looking at episodes going out probably once every 4 or 5 weeks, something around that kind of time frame. It'll go on for a while. There's a lot. She did an awful lot on that trip. And then once that's done, she'll get her head around the DR200 Farm special videos, which I'm really, really looking forward to going out. It's been a long time. It was an epic trip. And we do have another trip. So just on the back burner at the moment, just thinking about how we're going to pull that one off and what we're going to do. Still got to procure the vehicle. That's not going to happen until probably early next year. But I'll start to make inroads on how to get hold of one. It's a pretty unique kind of machine. And only one company here in New Zealand runs them, which is the New Zealand Post. So I don't know whether they import them directly themselves or whether there's a distributor here in New Zealand or what. I don't know enough yet to know how I'm going to get hold of one. I might even speak to, in fact, I probably will speak to New Zealand Post and see if they ever dispose of them. You know, do they ever sell them? They're probably not old enough yet to come off the fleet. They only started using them about 4 years ago. They started to move away from the little CT110 postie bikes and started to use these electric 4-wheel, sort of almost like an ATV, but you do sit in it. So is it an ROV? It has handlebars, not a steering wheel. So is it an ATV? I think really you call it an ATV, but it's battery powered. It has a big box on the back. It's pretty cool. It's got a windscreen and a windscreen wiper and things. So it'd be a really cool little machine to see if we can make it across New Zealand. And we'd have to take a pretty big generator with us as well to charge the batteries up, because I don't think the range is going to be very good. Oh, Roger, how did the manual driver lesson go in Queenstown? Pretty good actually. Eloise, she's got the basics for sure. She really has. I think partly it's confidence. She's not a very confident driver, is Ellie, unfortunately. That will come with time. I think also the fact she was driving her mum's car and she didn't want to risk damaging it was sort of added to the nerves. But she has now, I did half a day really, around the housing estate. Quite a few of the road network, the infrastructure has been put in on the housing estate. It's still being built, but there was quite a few areas out the back which had roads but no houses, and they were very quiet. And there was a few little hills, and we were able to do hill starts, that kind of thing, and reverse parks and stuff. And she sort of was starting to get the hang of using the clutch and everything pretty well. There was no real problems until we ventured into the area where there were houses. And when she came to like a hill start T-junction, as soon as a car came up behind her, she sort of felt very pressurized, and she started to fluster and make a few mistakes. So that was just the nerves getting the better of her. She's got the skill to do it. She just has to focus on what she's doing and not worry about the car behind her, because she felt she was taking too long to get going, and then she'd stall it, and then it'd all go to pot. So pretty standard stuff for people getting used to manual cars. She'll get there. She has now ventured out onto the open road a couple of times, only short journeys. She's not been into Queenstown yet and battled with the traffic. I think it'll be a while yet before she feels confident to do that. But I did say to her, go in early on a Sunday morning when there's no traffic around, and just drive around the centre of Queenstown, the bits that you can still drive down, and get used to the road network, so that you're not worried about how to get from A to B, and you've got an idea of which which junctions have got the hill starts and stuff, just to familiarise herself with that road network, and that should help with her confidence quite a bit once she drives through when there's cars around. Now, Bastian from KWH BSN was also very impressed how quickly they cleaned up after the cyclone. Was one of the last planes into Auckland before the cyclone hit. Wow, you were lucky, mate. There's I think most of the roads are open again now. They've managed to get them shored up and open, even if it's just like a single lane. because there was a lot of landslips, some really big landslips. The problem with New Zealand, especially the North Island, is, and in some places the South Island as well, is the ground. It's not very solid. It's quite fluid. It's very soft soil, which washes away really easily when there's heavy rain. And they do struggle to keep the roads properly drained. There's a lot of water seems to seep down under the road from the hillside, and then it undermines the foundations of the road. Then the whole lot just disappears down the valley. There's been a few cases of that over the years, where the whole road just disappears. It's just gone. There's just no way through. There's a gorge in the North Island that's being closed now, near Palmerston North, just east of Palmerston North. I forget the name of it, but it's been. We actually called to have a look at the construction on the monkey bike trip. Actually, that'll be on one of the videos, so you get to see that. Some phenomenal construction going on down there to try and reopen the gorge, and they've actually rerouted some of the road, taking it a different route through to try and make it more stable and give it a better chance of survival. So yeah, they have terrible problems with the soil type in most areas of the North Island, keeping roads stable. There's a lot of movement of the tarmac, and you get cracks and slumps and stuff. I've noticed still the condition of the roads in the North Island are absolutely atrocious in some places, where the tarmac is heated up, and with the weight of the trucks, and I think they're about, Roger will tell me if this is right or not, I think they're about 58 tons now is the limit to the big trucks, the twin trailer trucks. And what it does is it squishes the tarmac up, so you get this big mound of tarmac in the middle of the road, and that's extremely dangerous, especially for motorcyclists. Often on corners when the trucks are, going around, it's pushing the tarmac out to one side, and you get this berm of tarmac develop. Really, really bad. So yeah, the land transport have got a lot of work ahead of them to sort out the road network here in New Zealand. It's pretty bad, to be honest. I'm just grateful that I drive a ute. The ute copes extremely well, but even then, I've hit some pretty big potholes, and you think, "Ooh, God, if that was a normal car, that would be a real problem." And it really helps having those 10-ply tires on the ute as well. They're a lot more resilient to that kind of impact. One of the reasons why I chose them, to be fair. I would definitely get those again for sure. Now, Roger Heaps, that postie things have no suspension, do they? I think they do. I think they have suspension, because I've seen them pulling out of driveways and stuff, and you can see the suspension articulating as they come out to keep the wheels on the ground. I think if they had no suspension, they'd be actually pretty damn dangerous to drive, because a lot of the deliveries they do are on quite undulating tarmac. But we'll find out when we get one, won't we? Simon, how about the next one? How far can a Chinese CG125 copy make it around New Zealand? The CG is quite off-road. CG Adventures have proven this. CG125, a friend of mine back at school had the Honda CG125, which was it was basically a commuter bike, but it did incredibly well. Bulletproof little engines, really, really good. Yeah. Oh, hang on. C90. Okay, so we've changed bikes completely there. So Chinese copy of the C90. C90s are a good little bike, don't get me wrong, they really are. But I'd like to do something very different. I'm really keen, because of all this electric vehicle hype that's going on around the world, and everybody's buying them now because people, they're like sheep. They see the advert on TV and instantly think, I must have one of those, without doing any kind of real research. And they're starting now, people are starting to realize that there's not as many benefits to an electric car as they thought there were, and there's a lot more disadvantages of owning an electric car. So the tide is turning, I believe. It's starting to slow down a bit, and those that realize, a lot of bad press about electric cars, especially those that are on fire. There's a lot of them that seem to catch fire. Anyway, that's not for me to worry about, because I will never ever drive an electric car. Obviously this buggy thing is quite different, but we'll see. It's fully road registered, which is one of the main things we have to get it to do the trip. So it sort of ticks a lot of boxes, and it's going to be interesting to see how it copes. And we're not going to be sticking to tarmac. We're doing gravel. We'll be doing a lot of the off-road tracks again, using that. It's probably going to get stuck because it's quite heavy, and they're only small tyres. So maybe we've got to look at what kind of tyres we can fit to it. Fargo Fishing Goldeye. That's a hell of a name. No pies like you get here. Have to make your own. Oh, okay. Well, I really want Mrs. Mechanic to start making pies. I think she'd do some good pies. Simon, garage heaters. That's all there are. Garage heaters. That's all they are. Yes. Uncontrollable garage heater. When they go up big time, don't they? Very much a liability, I believe, in many, many different ways. And I think the insurance companies have started to come to terms that I bet they're actually shitting bricks when they realise how many electric cars they're insuring now and what their actual liability is. It's not good. It's not good at all. Anyway, cigarettes gone. We've had the pie. We've had a quick look at or introduced another failed winch, which I'm looking forward to having a go fixing that. I got crack on with the old trailer this afternoon. I've got tomato sauce forever. If you ever want any tomato sauce, and feel free to call by, and I'll give you a squirt of tomato sauce on your burger. That's about it, really. Oh, and the hard drives are home, which is nice. So thanks again, Sheldon. Really appreciate that. And Grant for sending that other one through as well. It's just put my mind at rest. It was another little thing that was starting to bug me. Okay, crew, we're going to sign off now. Thank you all for joining. Really, really appreciate you spending an hour and a half with me this morning to catch up. The next live stream won't be next Sunday. We're going to go back to once a fortnight. So in 2 weeks' time, I'll see you back in the workshop. And until then, take care of yourselves. Cheers, crew. Thank you. Over and out.